Appreciate y'all. Make sure you get them likes up. The show about to ready to start. Get them likes up. Make sure y'all get them likes up. Get them likes up. Let's go. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to King Talk tonight on Lapeef Network. Got a special show for you guys tonight, and I want to introduce the panel. We got Rilla, we got Kosha, salute, and we got our special guest of the night. We got Larry Roberts, also known as Larry's Barber. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing?
Doing great, brother. Doing great.
What's a good word, family?
Can't call it, man. Blessed to be here. Blessed to be here. We got a special guest of the night again. I said it's Larry Roberts, also known as Larry Barbers. How you doing, Larry? Welcome.
Man, I'm doing great, man. I appreciate y'all having me on y'all show tonight.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Glad to have you. Before we get the show started, man, I wanted to kind of highlight Larry. Larry is definitely an icon in Chicago. I've been knowing Larry for many years. I've actually attended his barber college back in the day. I want to say maybe like 3 or 4 months. And then the job I had, I was on call, so I had to stop going. But all around the city, you would just hear various things that Larry was doing. So I kind of wanted to highlight his story, man. He's done a lot of good things for the community, and I think that he has a story that's unique and also has to be told. So it's an honor to have you here tonight, and it's also an honor to be able to reveal to the many people that may not know of you and the people that know of you the entire story. Before we get started, make sure you guys get them likes up. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. So let's hop right into it. Larry. They call you Larry's Barber, man. Why is that, man? Tell me from the very beginning. If I'm not mistaken, I believe you started in the suburbs. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. They call me Larry because I'm one of the coldest barbers in the world.
Okay.
And don't and everybody don't ever need to forget that. Yeah, but man, I started in the suburbs. That's why I started cutting hair.
Okay. So were you just cutting there, or you had a barbershop?
So I always tell people my parents had this lame brain idea about building a house out in Matson, Illinois, man, when I was younger. And of course, going out to the suburbs, there weren't many people that looked like me. So when I was 13, I needed my hair cut like I normally get it cut on the regular when I was living in the city. And I went to Walgreens, bought a pair of clippers for $19. And I started cutting my own hair, man. And I tell people, the rest is history. And I know how to draw as well. So cutting hair, you will learn in barber school, is art and it's a science. So I already knew how to draw. So, and I'm kind of a perfectionist, or I strive for excellence, if you will. So anything I put my mind to, I'm gonna try and perfect it. And I started cutting hair, and that was pretty much it. And I told people, I said, hey, I charge $3 if you let me cut your hair. Pay me $3, but if I mess you up, then I'll pay you $3. But I never messed anybody up, man. So that's pretty much how that went from there.
Okay. So when I started to see you, I think I saw you on 103rd. That was the first time that I seen you, and it was the barbershop that was on the east side of 103rd, on the east side of 103rd, right there.
Right.
I'm also friends with Will and Janelle, so shout out to them if they are watching. But that barbershop was like, I can't even describe it. I've never seen a barbershop like that. It had so much traffic. Everybody knew about Larry's Barber College. So tell me how you transitioned from the suburbs to Chicago.
Well, man, I had the first black barbershop in Matson, and like I don't like the suburbs to this day, right? So like I'm a city guy. I grew up in the hundreds, and I grew up over east around Avalon Park, man, and I just felt like to me the city had a better vibe as it relates to the hair care industry, in my opinion. So just being in the city, man, and just kind of having like-minded people, and just having a respectful shop that's cracking. That's kind of how we had it rocking back in the day, man. I had everybody, there was somebody that came through that shop, and by me being a professional musician, I had the opportunity to cut like every musician. That was somebody, I cut a lot of ball players. I mean, the whole 9 yards, man. So that really helped bring a lot of attention to the shop and me and the other people that were in there as well. And we just kind of built the team together.
Okay. And so you brought that same barbershop to Chicago.
Yep, I actually I didn't want to be in the suburbs no more, so I sold that shop in the suburb, and then I moved to 103rd and Halsted, and I've been over in that area for over 25 years now.
Okay. So when you were in the suburbs and you came to Chicago, around what year was that? I'm trying to paint the picture for the people so they can understand it, how
Ooh,
long ago this
so let me
was.
see. So I started cutting at 13. I was cutting in my basement. I was so inundated with clients, I had the whole suburb sold up. So I actually had one of my guys, Mike, who was cutting hair in my basement with me. So it was two of us cutting in my basement when I was actually just a teenager. Then I went to barber school at 17 when I was a senior in high school. Then I was 19. I opened up my first barbershop. So that was in Matson. That was the first black barbershop in Matson. So that was probably maybe around 1992. 92, 93. I think I opened up my barbershop in Matson, and then like maybe around 95 or 96 is when I moved to Chicago and opened up my barbershop on 103rd and Halsted.
Okay, cool. Now that transition into a barber college,
Yep.
like that was the next move. Can you kind of just walk me through how that came about? Did you have a vision all along that you wanted to open up a barber college, or was that something that you just thought about along the journey?
So basically, with a barber college, a lot of people don't know the importance of who we are and what we do, right? So I'll ask you guys: do any one of you guys know what the red, white, and blue barber pole stand for? The thing
No, I
that
don't.
twirls around in the barbershop. Okay. So the red stand for blood, the white stand for bandages, the blue stand for veins, and a ball on the bottom is called a basin. We used to be doctors and dentists back in the day. Barbers. Our professional name is tonsorial artists. So basically, it was later on in the 1800s when they separated the profession. So we did minor surgeries, we did bloodletting, we did all of those things. So what we do is very, very important. But I think one of the biggest issues in our industry is people don't respect who we are. They don't respect what we do. They don't consider us tax-paying citizens. They feel like, that's not a real job. But, I beg to differ. I've been cutting hair for 35 years now. You know what I'm saying? So for 35 years, I've been cutting hair and I've been able to make great off of it. But, it was what I wanted. It was what I desired. And it's the goals that I aim for. So I felt like if I opened up a barber college, I can pretty much teach my students how to be successful, to teach them how to, get up and, I should start in the barbershop at 4 o'clock in the morning, man. And I wouldn't be done until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So my daily was between 25 and 38 heads. I was cutting every day. I always tell people the most heads I ever cut in one day was 48 heads, man. So I kind of wanted to expel that and I wanted to teach that. But I always say we have to be careful that we don't allow our gift to take us someplace that our character can't handle. And I also say you have to go through in order to get to, but it's how you deal with what you go through that determines how you come out. So a lot of these new age people, man, they want it quick, fast, in a hurry. The microwave day age is what I call it. And it's just not that simple. Like you can't cut 3 heads and make $1 million. You have to get in there like I did and get some reps in, behind that chair. So I really want to teach that. And I tell my students in orientation now when they come in, don't focus on being the best barber because I'll take a pair of shears and a razor and give you 20 pair of clippers and I'll still blaze you. That's how cold I feel like I am with the clippers. But focus on being successful. What does that mean? Starting your own corporations, doing business plans, just doing all of those things that would make you acceptable, if you will, to the professional world. And postures is everything inside of the shop, and we can get into that later. But I think that's one of the things that make people think that, we aren't real and, our job is fake. But those same people who are saying our job is fake, those people have to come in and get a service done by us. But our postures is everything from, not using language that's appropriate for the atmosphere, or not playing music that's appropriate for the atmosphere. The music can be derogatory or very disrespectful to women or seniors and kids and like I tell people all the time, I can't speak about smoking blunts and drinking and using drugs because I've never did none of that stuff. But the flip side of it, without being judgmental, I feel like if that's what you're going to do as a grown adult, do that on your own time. Do that when you get home. Do that in the area that it's accepted to do it. Don't do it on lunch. Don't do it before you come to work. Don't have a cup sitting on your station and you're drinking, or your buddy run up and you go, get a couple puffs real fast. That's just not professional. There needs to be some uniformity. So these are a lot of the things that I teach. So I have a non-for-profit as well, and I teach mentoring and I teach life skills. We teach mental health. We teach substance abuse. We deal with veterans. I'm the first and only barber school who have dormitory housing. I have transportation. I mean, man, I do it all because I want my students to be successful and not just come and pay me a gang of money. And then when they leave me, they don't know how to, set themselves up for retirement and have 401k and pay taxes or make sure their credit and stuff is on point. So that's my purpose of opening up a barber school.
Okay. Hey, Larry, before we continue, getting an audio issue again, and I hate for people to miss this, can you do me a favor and try to turn off the Wi-Fi and let's see if we can get it on the 4G or 5G. Let's just see how that works. Apologize, y'all. This is an icon from Chicago. If you're from Chicago or even somewhere near it, you heard of Larry's Barber College. You've heard of Larry's Barbers, man. So I felt the need to be able to highlight this brother because it's going to get better. It's going to get better because he's done a lot. And I believe that a lot of people can actually learn from how he move and navigate. It doesn't have to be identical, but I just think it's just unique how he advanced in his career. All right, Larry.
Can you guys hear me? Yes, sir.
It's still kind of doing it a little bit, but we're going to kind of rock it. Can you guys still hear it? Okay, we're gonna rock out. I know we want to stop the show too much. So you had the Barber College on 103rd in Halstead, which was pretty small. So you went from a barber shop, and I think you bought the building next door, right? When I bought it, maybe leased the building.
So I had a barber college across the street that I opened, and then I pretty much outgrew that school. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, okay.
I outgrew that school, and then I had my asset on the old Blockbuster down the way. So I kept calling the guy who owned the building. I'm like, hey man, I want to move in that building. And he's like, yeah, buddy, all right, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I want to move in that building. And I called that man for 2 years to tell him I wanted to move in that building. And after that 2 years, I called him and I said, hey man, I got $10,000. He was like, huh? I'm like, yeah, I got $10,000. I want to show him how serious I was about moving in that building. And when I gave that man $10,000, that man worked with me, and that's how I was able to get that building. And I designed and I orchestrated everything up inside of that building, man. And it was probably, well, I did that to every one of my shops, man. But it was pretty amazing. It was really pretty amazing.
I want to paint the picture, man. I mean, we're talking about a blockbuster, and this building had been sitting here for years. I thought the building was just abandoned.
Yeah.
So the college that he had before was the college that I attended, and the one thing that I saw firsthand was that he was teaching everything. He was teaching men how to do raps. He was teaching men how to arch eyebrows. So it was a lot of education that was. I still got that bag, man. That big black bag that said Larry's Barber College. I had my books in there, I had my workbook, I had everything in there, man. But it was just, he was teaching you everything. And at the time, I'm thinking like, man, I mean, men do hair. This is what we do. But the way you was telling us is saying it's advanced. It's like you was so far ahead. Like when you come to the barbershop, you want to be able to do everything.
Everything. So reason being is because of the fact of, you got a lot of guys who come to barber school and all they want to do is cut hair. So it's more to it than that, especially when you're talking about being a celebrity barber, when you're talking about being a platform artist and all of that kind of stuff. So you don't want to just know how to cut hair. For example, I cut Judge Mathis hair for a whole year for his TV show, 2 or 3 times a week. And, there were things and services that I had to do for the judge that were for TV. And I had to teach myself how to do these things because I didn't learn it when I was in barber school, so to speak, So at the end of the day, I vowed that everything that's in that book, it needs to be taught. The only difference between barbering and cosmetology is that barbers can use a razor legally and a cosmetologist can't. Other than that, everything that's in their book is in our book. Everything that's in our book is in their book. So my students, I want them to learn everything while they're in school. So that way there won't be no excuse as to why they can't go to Hollywood or go on a TV, show or whatever the case may be and be able to do everything, like the man units. Man units are old, I mean, I wouldn't get one, but man units are old and that's toupee. So it's nothing but a toupee. Like for example, Javari, you use some fibers and you didn't want to tell nobody what you did to put them fibers on that bald head. And those are
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And those are things that I had to use, when I do different TV shows and different things like that, but you have to know how to use it properly. But I can make a whole haircut, a fade and everything with the fibers, you know what I'm saying? So that's just how much advanced that we were. But you didn't want to tell nobody the secret, but I already knew, son. So you couldn't have nothing for me.
Yeah, man. I was trying to keep it under wraps, man. Hey, that was a
you thought they only invented one?
Yeah, but kind of piggyback what you started already about the blockbuster. This blockbuster was huge, man. So I remember driving down.
Feet.
It was how big?
It's 6,000 square feet.
There you go. And the old building was how much?
The old building was only 2,000 square feet.
Okay, so you talking about more than doubling the size. And I just seen like Larry's Barber College coming soon. I said, man, look at this. This man bought a whole blockbuster.
Yeah, man.
So to this day, it's still there. But I want to get the year that we're at when you went to Blockbuster. What year was that?
I went to Blockbuster. I think 2010 is when I went to Blockbuster. Yep, 2009. Okay. 2009.
Okay, so I kind of want to pivot a little bit. Around 2014, which I just discovered not too long ago, you wrote a book.
Yep.
You care to share like what was in that book? Like what inspired you to write a book?
So I wrote a book called Suicide is Not the Answer, right? So you're looking at somebody who my dad used to own a restaurant called Larry's Ribs back in the day. So I grew up in the church. I'm a PK. I played drums and keyboards. I was in church 3, 4, 5 days a week. My dad played organ for all of the greats back in the day, the James Clevelands and Albertina Walkers and all of those people. And my mom sang. My grandmother was a pastor. and we kind of grew up in church where everything was a sin. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't do that, da 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 da. Right. So I kind of held fast to, if they said, hey, if you don't drink, if you don't smoke, if you don't curse, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you'll be blessed. Right. So I kind of lived and patterned my life according to how the Church of God in Christ pretty much taught me. Of course, becoming an adult, I realized that they weren't trying to bring any harm to me, but they were just trying to protect me from what was out in the streets, in the world, if you will. But I would have preferred for them to say that to make it appear as if, I was going to hell if I had a drink, or I was going to hell if I went to the show, or I was going to hell if I did these things. So I pretty much lived my life, on the straight and narrow, the way they taught me to do it. But then when I got older and I was in business and I was struggling a lot, um, I couldn't understand how, and the way I painted out, I couldn't understand how the drug dealers were doing better than me, how the gang bangers were doing better than me, how the people that was doing everything I was told not to do were doing better than me. And at one point in my life, man, I thought God hated me. Part of my truth is I got molested when I was a baby, between the ages of 2 and 5 years old. So, unknowingly, it made me, perverted at a young age. I became a womanizer, not knowing that, it was unhealthy. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was just with more women that than I should have been with. And then when you grow up, and I wanted to be married. My grandparents, before my grandmother passed, they had been married for 62 years. My parents been married now for 49 years. So I seen what it is for a man to take care of a wife, because I watched my dad do it, and take care of his family. I watched my dad do it. So I wanted to get married. So I got married, and they want you to marry people you grew up in with the church, because they feel like, oh, y'all fit and this, that, and the other. And I end up being married. I got divorced 3 times. You know what I'm saying? I'm married now again, for the fourth and last and final time. But just being married, going through that, and I couldn't understand. I'm like, God, I feed the homeless and didn't tell people about it. I'm a good dude. I go to church. I pay my tithes and my offering. I'm a good father to my daughter. I'm a good son. I don't get in no trouble. I don't do nothing I don't have no business doing, for the most part, except for, I was still straddling the fence with them women, man. I couldn't leave the women alone. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I felt like God hated me at one point in my life, man, not really understanding, again, having to go through. So that's why I always speak about, you have to go through in order to get to, but it's how you deal with what you go through that determines how you come out. So point being is that, I'm 48 years old now, and I had to go through all of those things because of the fact that God was pretty much, from a spiritual aspect, was setting me up for all the success and the things that I'm doing right now. And I know we're going to talk about that later, but it literally blows my mind when I think about where I was and where I am right now. So my way out was like, man, I don't want to live no more. I'm tired of living. You know what I'm saying? What did I do wrong? I would go home. I'm one of the type of people that, if I have an obligation to anything or anybody, I'm never late. I'm always gonna be on time. I'm gonna fulfill my obligations. I'm gonna make sure everybody and everything else is happy and satisfied. But then, I dress well. I'm gonna smell good. I'm gonna be well groomed. But then I will go back home and be balled up in depression and darkness. You know what I'm saying? And when I would call people and tell people, hey man, I'm going through. I need some help. I need to borrow some money. Whatever the case may be. People are like, Larry, you good? But it's because I always drove the best cars. I lived good. Everything was okay. But there were other things going on with me that people really didn't believe. So therefore, nobody heard me. And it took me 10 years to write that book. And I couldn't figure out why it took so long to write the book. But it was because of the fact that I literally had to go through it in order to truly understand why people deal with suicide. And it's not that people just don't want to live no more, this, that, and the other. It's just that they're hurting so bad, until suicide is a form of people knowing the extremity of how bad you were hurting. And man, people commit suicide because they want people to feel the effect of their hurt. So that's why I wrote the book, man. And needless to say, I'll never deal with that ever again. I feel like I wrote the book so people can get healed, delivered, and set free. To hear my success story, to hear what I went through, as a man, getting molested as a baby, being able to openly talk about it, because you can't help what somebody do to you as a baby. But it also helped me to understand better about it helped me understand better about people who go a different way than I chose to go. You know, I mean, you know, we don't know that those things happen to them, but you know, I know the people who I had in my life who were examples for me that made it where I didn't go a different direction than other people might have went because due to what happened to them, you know, as being a baby and all of that kind of stuff as well, you know, as far as molestation, all that stuff is concerned, man. So that's how my book was derived. And I actually did a play out of it, and I'm actually working on doing a movie out of it as well.
Okay, that's what's up. I want to kind of bring in Culture and Rilla. You guys want to chime in a little bit, speak on something?
Well, I think, shout out to you, Larry. I think your story is phenomenal, man. I grew up similar to you, grew up Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal holiness. And, you know, my parents were married for over 50 years, too. I'm 50, you 48, so, you know, we used to BB and CC Winans and commission. You know, we grew up in that generation. And, you know, and so I lived a very straight-laced life to the point, you know, I thought if I sneezed, I was going to hell.
Absolutely.
And you know, listen, I think their intentions, like you said, were noble, had very noble intentions, but they didn't always balance the objective word of truth. And I think that lack of balance caused me to be jaded, you know, about God. You know, I thought if I had sex with a woman, God was going to kill me on the spot in mid-stroke. In mid-stroke, Larry, I thought he was going to kill me. So
you said mid-stroke, huh?
Mid-stroke.
He wasn't going to let you finish.
So our stories are very similar, but what you're talking about is a pathology that often goes on a lot with a lot of young boys and girls. You know, I did a show on my channel called Shadow Point, and a shadow point is normally what happens when a person breaks and when they turn to the dark side. That's normally tied to dissociative personality disorders. A lot of times it's also tied to borderline personality disorders. And more or less, it can be tied to a lot of different abnormalities due to molestation and trauma. You know, you look at the situation with R. Kelly, you know, and I'm not trying to minimize what he did, but R. Kelly was a victim too. He was a victim and a predator. But we tend to minimize the pathology of R. Kelly and see him only as a predator. So I'm very empathetic to your situation because, you know, you definitely are a testament to grace. And so, you know, it's very alluring and very, it's good to hear that a man like you that went through all those things came out on the other side, because you could have had a different story and a different outcome. So salute to you and what you're doing in the community and what you're doing to try to empower young black boys and men, because I know the journey and the story myself. And, you know, I used to feel the same way. You know, I'm doing everything right. They have no kids out of wedlock. You know, I was the black Madonna. You know, I'm 6'5", 6'6", you know, so I should have been, like most guys, you know, having a lot of fun. But, you know, I've been married for 25 years, going on 26, you know, and so when you open your eyes up, you know, you thought God hated you. I had a visceral anger towards God at one point. You know, I'm like, I did everything right, but what did I get for doing the right thing? You know, and I wasn't totally angry, but I had, you know, had some slight anger towards God, man. So shout out to you, man, and what you're trying to do for young brothers in the community. Shout out to you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, Rilla.
Yeah, man. So I just honestly, I don't have anything to chime in per se, but I had a question, man. Like, and I didn't want to skip over this. You know, I grew up in the hundreds too. I grew up in Roseland, and I remember cats, you know, that I went to school with, you know, 18, 19, senior year, 17, 18, 19, cutting hair up there in Roseland, up there on Michigan on 112th in Michigan. I remember them cutting hair. I never heard anybody really talk about owning their own barbershop at 19. You have got to walk us through what possessed you. Like, were you intensely focused and driven at that young of an age that you was like, you know what? I don't want to sell dope. I don't want to be in this gang, that gang. I don't want to go this route, that route. I'm going to open up a barbershop. What was the mindset there?
So again, my dad used to have, so I used to live at 10429. No, I used to live at 10406 South Wabash, right? I went to Cone School on 104th and State.
Word.
My great grandparents lived right across the street from Cone School. State, of course, is on Wabash is on the other side. We had a church at 10429 South Michigan. My father had a restaurant called Larry's Ribs on 107th and State. I used to get my hair cut on 107th in Michigan. So, like, I used to play basketball in the alley back there. My relatives live on 105th and LaSalle, the DeBarnays, and my other relatives live on 108th and Perry. So I grew up around there. You know what I'm saying? So I used to barbecue ribs, man, at the age of 12 years old. And I used to be in a restaurant, man, and as a teenager working 40, 50, 60 hours a week in my dad's restaurant. So being an entrepreneur, like it was derived from my dad, just watching him and him taking me to work with him and all of those things, man. So when I started cutting hair, I just knew that, like, man, I want to have my own barbershop. You know what I'm saying? So I literally used to charge $3. I went up to $5 eventually as I got older and as I got better as a teenager. And I saved my money as a teenager, and I was able to open my own barbershop, but no help of my father, nobody else. I used my own money, and I opened my own barbershop when I was 19 years old. I had all my credits when I was senior high school. So I would get out of school at 12 o'clock, and I had work study, and I would leave school and I would drive to barber school, and I started barber school when I was a senior in high school. And my mind was stuck on having my own barbershop. And one day my dad called me. He said, "Hey man," he said, "come on, get in the car and ride with me real fast." And it was a barbershop. It was an old Caucasian barbershop that had closed down. It had all of that, you know, the old school wood that be down, that panel that be down in people's basements from back in the day. It had all of that around the walls, man. And my dad said, "You want this shop?" I'm like, "Yeah." He put it in his name, but I put all the money down on it and everything, man. And I went in there. I put my own tile down with the help of my uncles and my dad. Then I put my own lights up with my uncle, who was an electrician. All the cabinets, the carpet, painted, the whole 9 yards, man. And that's how I opened up my first barbershop.
Man, that is absolutely insane. And I remember Larry's barbecue. I remember. Yep. I grew up right around the corner, so I went to VV. I went to VV. Yeah, I went to VV and Corliss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing from you is that you had a lot of male influence around you.
Yep.
How did that impact, or, you know, I mean, because I'm hearing it, but, you know, walk us how that influenced you, having your uncles be able to come in and do the electrical work with you, or, you know, seeing your father as an entrepreneur.
Well, man, I think it's in this day and time, it's a little different now. Like, you know, like when we were coming up, man, you know, we couldn't say yeah, and we had to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and good morning, and yes, sir, and no, sir. And, you know, these are the mannerisms that we had to have. You know, I mean, I didn't curse when I was young, but, you know, you couldn't curse in front of the adults. You know, I mean, it was just disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Certain things you just didn't do in front of adults. So I had great examples around me. You know what I'm saying? They made us, you couldn't lay around the house, man, and not get up and get in the shower and put some clothes on and make your bed up, or you know, and then we used to go outside, man. These kids nowadays, all they want to do is go stay in the house and play games and be on their phone. But if you didn't let us go outside back in the day, man, we thought the world was coming to an end, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we'd get up in the morning, man. It'd be 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun be beaming, and my grandmother would holler outside in the alley, man. He'd be like, "Y'all come in here before y'all catch a sunstroke." But like yesterday, man, I played ball, man. We played up to 120, man, and I actually won. But I'm like 48, bro. Like, what we doing playing up to 120? I think we had 120. They had like one, maybe 12 they had, man. So we beat them. But before we went in to play basketball, man, we was outside playing football. We was outside playing baseball with the mitts and the lead balls. Then cause I keep all this stuff in my trunk. Man, we was playing softball, and we just grew up playing everything, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we were boys. We were able to be boys. We used to flip and bust our heads. We used to ride bikes and wheelie. And I was right there where Oil Express is, right, with the oil place right there on 108th and Halsted. Man, they used to be a straight, like they used to be just a field, right? And man, we used to be jumping our bikes, jumping ramps right there. We used to play strike up against the doctor's office right there. They got the gate around it now, man. And kids don't do that nowadays, man. I'm like, y'all missing out, man. We played basketball on milk crates and bicycle rims and all of that kind of stuff, man. So I just watched people around me, man, and I knew, you know, like I tell people all the time, you grow up and you have relatives and you see other people, man, who strung out on drugs and they become alcoholics and they die and all this kind of stuff, man. And to me, like, what makes me think that I can escape that? So I try to look at the good, I look at the bad, I look at the people who I don't want to be, I look at the things I don't want to do, and I had to make some life choices on my own. That's why I said I would have rather in church them told me that, hey man, you know what, this is not a sin, but if you do this, it could land you here, right? So I was pretty much kind of taught, because my grandmother was the pastor, I was kind of taught, man, that, you know, if you do this, if you live right, heaven belongs to you. You treat your neighbor right, heaven belongs to you. So I tried to live my life like that, missing out on, like, I played basketball in school, man, but I didn't
Right.
play to the degree I know I could have played at. I could have played every sport. It's so many things I grew up feel like I missed out on, but still watching my dad get up and go to work every day, man. Watching my dad go to sleep for an hour and get back up and do it all over again. You know what I'm saying? That was the examples I had, man. Having my uncles them, you know, throw us in the deep water and 8 feet over in Avalon Park and be like, man, hey, I don't know how you gonna get out of there, but you better figure it out. Of course, they wouldn't have let us drown, but that's how we learned, man. Taking us bike riding all down by the museum, man, and you know, making us stay in and watch the news when we got in trouble because we ran the house too much. I mean, all of these things, man, just helped us to be strong men. You know, they didn't allow us to cry. They didn't allow us to throw the ball a certain way, man. You better not throw the ball like you throwing it with your left hand, you know, or you know what I'm saying? You better not cry, man. It's different nowadays, man. It's different. Like everything is acceptable, man. So, you know, that's why I try and bring back the mentorship and the life skills and all of that stuff into my school, because I have a lot of students who they didn't have the upbringing that we had, right? So when they come in school, if they only focus on being the best barber, that means that they're not going to know how to say, good morning, sir, how you doing? Can I help you? Would you like to get a haircut? Versus a man coming in the barber shop, standing up there, don't nobody say nothing to him. And they be like, what's up, man? This man, 60 years old, he said, what's up, man? What's up, dude? What's up, Joe? Hey, you want a haircut? Yeah, that's what I came in here for. But nobody greeted me. I'm standing up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of, we're missing a lot of that, man. So that's why I try and reach back and mentor and just do all of those things, man. So hopefully that answered your question, man. But I had some great people around me, man, whether they was a relative or not. I just watched and I paid attention, man. And I knew what I wanted to be like and who I didn't want to be like.
All right. So like after the barber college that you had, which was the old Blockbuster, I just started seeing a lot of things happen. You're gonna have to paint the picture for me as far as where it fell at on the timeline. But I seen you had a program in the county jails. I've seen other barber colleges being open. I've also seen other barbershops, I believe, being open. I've seen you had a collab with Walmart. It's just so much stuff that was just going on moving forward. So can you just kind of walk us through what was happening?
Okay, so I'm one of them people that I believe in being prepared. So that way, if opportunity comes knocking, I'm prepared. So I'm licensed currently in over 22 states with my master instructor license, which means that I prepare myself for if it's time to go to another state to open up another school or shop or whatever that looks like. I'm already licensed and I'm already prepared. So I have 8 barber colleges, 8 barber and cosmetology schools right now to date. I'm the first in 2010. I opened up the first and only barber school inside of Cook County Jail, in any county jail. I'm the first person that ever did that, and I do it for free. People ask me, well, why did you do that? Well, I give these people this $15,668 program, $68 program for free, because we're so quick on the inside of the 4 walls to talk about the people outside who we think are bad until we're not doing anything about it. And people think that everybody that's locked up in jail are all bad people, but that's not true. You just got people who messed up, they made some mistakes, and the recidivism is so high because they keep going back because they got a criminal background. So when they get out of jail to do something different, society won't allow them to because of their criminal background. So they go back to what they know and they end up right back in jail. So I asked them, I said, let me bring my program inside the jail, so that way when they get out of jail, then you know, they'll be able to go straight to work so they can take care of their family, their kids, their wives, and I'm even in the women's division as well. So which leads to, and I'm fast forwarding some, Walmart. So I opened up in Walmart. I'm the second black person to open up a store. Walmart is the biggest retail store in the world. And I'm the second black person to open up a shop and a business inside of Walmart. So this Thursday, I'm having my grant. Walmart wants to do it on a national level. So Walmart is literally catapulting me somewhere in the, you know, on the moon somewhere, right? So we're doing a grand opening. It's going to be on a big scale of things. But Sheriff Dart is coming, and Sheriff Dart will be speaking at the grand opening. And the Lieutenant Governor will be coming to speak at the grand opening because I'm the first accredited program inside of the Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice penal institutions as well. So I have 2 schools inside of those locations, right? So what's significant about Sheriff Dart and those people coming to speak is that I have 4 barbers who currently work with me inside of Walmart, who were once my students inside of Cook County Jail. They started with me in Cook County Jail. They got out of jail because they had something different to do. They never returned to jail. Now they're working with me in the largest retail chain. Sheriff Dart is going to come speak to that. How do you think that that's going to make the world react to the fact that these people gave me an opportunity to come in there with my program, and now look at the effect? We help cut down on recidivism, and we're creating alternatives to violence, man. And I feel like that's huge. It's really huge. So, man, that's how I ended up in Walmart. And just having 8 schools now. It's and I'm still going. It's what I aspire to do. It's what I dream. I have goals, man, and I really want to set people. I have over 40 people on my staff. Man, people are put in position to buy houses. They're put in position to buy cars, and that's what I desire. I want to be the only one. I want people around me who's helping me to make it happen. I want them to succeed as well. And then I have a COO. I have a chief of staff. I have financial directors and managers, and I have a creative ops team. So I have a green screen room, man, where I have all kind of cameras and televisions, and I just believe in doing stuff on a big level, man. I have PR and doing these things so that way if opportunity come, I don't miss it because I'm not prepared. I got a docu-series that I'm ready to do. I got a movie that I'm ready to do. So all of these things, man, is things that I've worked hard to. I've been in business. Next year will be 30 years that I've been in business, man. And I just now start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe about 6, 7 years ago, maybe I just started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So a lot of people think it's this quick fix thing, man, but it's not as quick as what people think that it is, man. I had to struggle. I had to go through, man. I had to cry. I bled. I sweated, man, but I still had to get up like I seen my daddy do. I still had to get up and go make it happen, regardless to what was happening, regardless of how that looked, man. I had to go and I had to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the rundown of the school. So I have a school on 79th Street. I've seen people get killed in broad daylight, man, and I literally, I used to run out the school, man, stopping people from shooting people, stopping people from beating people up, man. Like we that's how the community's supposed to be, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if we would put more police officers in our neighborhoods who understand who we are versus somebody who just, thirsty to shoot a gun or beat somebody up, man, try talking to them. Try talking them down off the ledge, man, and help them understand. And just like in jail, I go to court for my guys who are locked up in jail. And when I get up before the judge, it's like I realize that the judge have a lot of cases that they have to see, meaning that they're not ready to take time with this one detainee and say, well, man, how did you get in this position? No, they got to go play golf at 1 o'clock, which means that they got 20 other people to see. So, hey, man, no, this is your third strike. I'm sending you up the river. But why don't you take time with that detainee to say, man, I don't know who my father is, man. I walked in on my mama, doing something strange for some dope, on one of my friends who sold my mama some dope. I had to take care of my little brothers and sisters, man. So that's how I end up getting in the game and getting in the dope game or whatever it looks like. But they're not asking them that. So they need help. They got all of this baggage. They're carrying all of this weight, and no one wants to help them. They just want to look at them. They want to throw them under the jail, and they don't want to help them, man. And I feel like the warfare for me was so strenuous because, I strive so hard to, like, I feel like I can help the whole world for some reason, man. I feel like I can help the whole world. I know it's not possible, but in church, man, they say if I can just help somebody along the way, my living won't be in vain, man. And I help as many people as I can. And I just feel like I'm well-rounded, man. I've been able to travel the world playing drums and keyboards. I've been all over the world, man. I do it for a living. I taught my daughter. My daughter is a celebrity chef right now. So, she's doing her thing. She traveled the world, man. So, yeah, man, just all of that, man. And I'm excited. And this is only a small part of it, man. Wait till y'all see the other stuff that's great happen, man. I'm like, my mind is actually blown. You know what I'm saying? So this thing is crazy, man. And now I can see it. But again, dealing with that suicide stuff, like I didn't understand why I had to go through this. I'm like, why am I going through this? But I believe that to whom much is given, much is required. But a lot of us, and I speak about diamonds. People look at this big, beautiful diamond, but that diamond came from some coal that was pressed down, and made it to this diamond, man. You know what I'm saying? Oil came from the olive because the olive had to get crushed, but look at the good oil that came from it. But we don't understand it when we're going through it. But when we come out of that thing, man, and when I came out of it, man, I'm like, look, you can make new mistakes, but you shouldn't make old mistakes. And I don't make no old mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I might make a few new mistakes, man, but not no old mistakes, man. So
Go ahead, Coach. I think you wanted to say something.
Well, I think everything you said is, as I said earlier, is powerful. You said the famous quote, "You have to go through to get through." But I think you were fortunate. You and I were, in a way, fortunate. I was probably more fortunate than you because I grew up in the rural South. I grew up in rural Eastern North Carolina. I'm 6'5", played ball, had a chance to play college basketball, but never did it. But you and I were we were protected from a lot of stuff. You look at what you had with your father and the elders in your community. You had a lot of protective factors that a lot of boys don't have. And even though the churches a lot of times had some negatives when it came down to the grace and mercies of God, you still were blessed in a lot of ways. And I think what's happening now, guys, and to the people that are listening, as a clinical therapist, we have something called risk factors and protective factors. And so the risk factors a lot of times are bad communities, lack of fathers, lack of resources, lack of economics. Those are risk factors. But the protective factors a lot of times are solid schools, churches, auxiliaries, having economics in the community. All those things are protective factors. So Larry, I would say you had a lot more protective factors than you had risk factors. And even though you were sheltered from a lot, you was actually saved from a lot, like myself. When you look at things in hindsight being 2020, you say old but for grace. And so, you're a legend, man. Albertina Walker, man, shoot, the Winans, what's the guy name from Commission? Carl Reed. He was actually on my show in the past. And so, you're blessed. You're blessed to have got out alive in Chicago. You brothers are from Chicago. And I say shout out to you guys, but you had a lot of protective factors in your life that sustained you and made you the man that you are now. You may didn't realize that, but you have a lot of protective factors that a lot of kids don't have. And so as a therapist, when we look at things on something called the locus, it's called the level of care utilization system, risk factors, protective factors in the recovery environment is paramount to the efficacy of a child, or what I call the functioning of a child. So you have a lot of sustainable factors that made you the man that you are. And I would even say, I heard Lapeef Jr.'s story. He's an even greater testament of grace. He's a personification of resilience. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lapeef, you said you grew up in a single parent home, right, brother?
Yeah, I grew up in a single parent.
Right. So you are the personification of resilience. It's a terminology we use in the clinical world called resiliency theory. And so resiliency theory basically means those people that are able to overcome the obstacles in spite of. But I would say Lapeef Jr. is probably the exception, not the rule. But he's man, you're an icon of grace yourself. So like I said, man, you have to go through to get through, and I've been through the same way. I think people don't understand, to the young men that are listening, you don't become the best version of yourself until you hit round 42, 43, and then you start seeing the fruits of your labor. And I'm beginning to see the fruits of mine, and so you're correct. And I think that's something young men got to understand. The process of manhood is a process. And it's a terminology that I created called the metacognitions of masculinity, meaning it's men we're constantly thinking about things. We're constantly thinking about thinking and how to become the next version of ourselves. I had to recreate myself back in 2008 as a special ed teacher. And then from being a special ed teacher to becoming a clinical therapist after I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But it was a very tenuous process, Didn't have no help, didn't have no support. But I had to think about thinking to get to the next level. So, I think that's something we need to tell young brothers, that the process of success is a hard road. It's not easy. There are a lot of obstacles, but you learn more the more you do it. And so you have to go through, as you said, to get through. And I think that terminology speaks well.
Yes, sir.
You said something earlier, Larry, where you said, don't let your talent take you where your character can't keep you. And I don't know if JR told you this, but it's a lot of young bloods that, watch this show and watch his network. And so when we speak, and that's the audience we typically speaking to, can you break that down? Like, I understand it, but can you break that down for the young bloods, and what does character mean to you?
So I always say we have to be careful that we don't allow our gift to take us someplace that our character can't handle, right? So it's almost like somebody, I'll ask my students this. I say, who the youngest student here? Somebody might say 18, 19 years old when they first start. I say, okay. I said, if I gave you $1 million right now, what would you do with it? Oh man, I'll buy me some property, and I'll buy my mama a house, and I'll do X, Y, and Z. And they go on about all these things they'll do. I say, no, you're not. I say, you go in and you go buy you a car, you go put you some rims on there, you go put you some sounds in there, you go in a Foot Locker and you go buy a Foot Locker, you going to buy up the bar, you go get you a fake ID, you go do all this stuff that you could ever imagine, because guess what? Your let's just call the money the gift. Your gift can't handle, your character can't handle the gift that you've been given, which means that you end up blowing all of this money because you didn't know how to handle it, right? So same thing as like you being a great barber. You can be the best barber in the world, but if you're always late, if you're never on time, if you're unprofessional, if you do all of these things that screw up this wonderful gift that you have, then you end up in the slump. It's almost like you let somebody get out of jail and you saying, okay, you want a good job? You make them a bank president. So they're a bank president fresh out of jail, making $200,000 a year, but their character can't handle this position that they've been given. So what do? Instead of waiting till they get to the crib to smoke a blunt, they go in the bathroom and smoke it and go totally against the rules. You know what I'm saying? And then instead of them saying, good morning, sir, and good morning, ma'am, how are you doing today? Hey, what's up, Joe? What's going on, man? Like, yeah, no, dog, man. This is, you know what I'm saying? So you have to know how to find the balance somewhere, man. So a lot of people, gift and character don't align, and a lot of times God, has to make us wait until those things align for Him to give them. So had I gotten, like, I should have been rich in my 20s. I could have been rich in my 20s had I really listened to my father. And it ain't like I did anything wrong, man, but I made so much money as an 18, 19, 20-year-old until when I had 22 credit cards. I used to change the rims on my truck like they was underwear, man. Like I had Dayton's on there.
Yeah, like I remember that Navigator.
Man, the next month I had Tri-Fans on there and all this, that, and the other, man. So I couldn't handle it. I had all the Coogee sweaters. I had just everything, man. It was just really ridiculous, man. I lowered my truck to the ground. I lifted back up and the whole nine. And man, I didn't know what to do with the money. So I think that I had to go through all of these things to get to the point now where you might as well say I'm debt free, because of the fact of I learned I don't make the mistakes that I did back in the day. But it was some things like, for instance, I drove a Mercedes. I had a Blazer when I graduated from high school, so I hooked it up like a, you know what I'm saying, like, I had one of the best Blazers, in hundreds. And in Chicago, I had a Mercedes at 21. I had Jaguars. I had 3 Navigators. I had all these wonderful cars. And then when I was on my third Navigator, I had the Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer. I had Range Rovers, but when I was on my third Navigator, my lease was up, and I was in my 3rd marriage. My lease was up, and I wanted another Range Rover, right? And I had my business I had to run. I wanted another Range Rover, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get a Range Rover. So I went to the Range Rover dealer. I'm like, hey, man, how much for this Range Rover? At this time, I think it was like maybe $65,000, $70,000 for the Range Rover. I think 80, something like that. And it was like, you have to come in here, you got to put like $9,000 down, and you'll notice it's gonna be like $1,700 a month. I'm like, cool, man, I'm gonna do it. I didn't have $9,000 to go put down on a Range Rover, and I knew I couldn't afford the $1,700. And I have been paying $1,100, $1,200 car note since I have been 21 years old, and at this time I was in my 30s. You know what I'm saying? But my point for bringing it up is that I had a '99 Ford Explorer that I bought that was sitting in front of my house. That was, it was okay. It can get me wherever I needed to go. But my pride didn't want me to drive that '99 Ford Explorer, because I feel like, I'm Larry. I need to get this Range Rover. Man, when I tell you, I sat back and I thought about it. I'm like, man, do I put myself in a predicament where I go get this Range Rover, cough up this $9,000? I'm juggling my rent money for the business. I'm juggling my rent money with my car note money. I know that they won't come repossess my car for at least 45 days. So I'll Western Union my car note on the 44th day. And then, because I got to juggle and I got to pay the rent for my business. Man, that was stupid, man. That was stupid. But God had to test me in that area to make sure that, oh, no, he's not ready yet. But when I drove that '99 Ford Explorer, man, and after it started kind of wearing off, I used to have to unlock the door, open up the back door, reach in the front and unlock the front door in order to get in the front door, man. And when I first started driving, I would park way down the street because I'm Larry. You know what I'm saying? I'm G'd up. I got the best clothes on. I got the best smelling cologne on. But I'm pulling up in a 99 Ford Explorer. Man, please, you better believe that after so long, I was like, man, screw that. But now I bought a shuttle bus 10 years ago, cash. I got a 10-passenger van that I drove around for 2 years because I wasn't ready to buy another car yet. But I got a 10-passenger van. I got another van for my business in Peoria because I got a day reporting center in Peoria that I got a state contract with. So I got like 7, 8 vehicles that's paid for that I don't even owe on. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to talk about one of the vehicles that I have because y'all be like, man, you ain't learned no lesson. But I got like a dream car, man. You know what I'm saying? I got a car that, you know what I'm saying? Let's just say I got a Rolls Royce, right? So, but I did it without no sweat, man. But I earned it. I worked hard for this Rolls Royce, man. I worked very, very hard to be able to obtain my Rolls Royce, man. And that's literally probably the only bill I have because I want to have that bill. It's not bragging. It's not trying to flex. It's not trying to throw my weight. It's not saying, it's just that look at all the stuff I had to go through, man. People see me sacrifice and I deserve it, man. I deserve it because I worked very, very hard for it, man. So, man, you know what I'm saying? That's part of my testament, man. But I had to go through it. Like, you know, he kept saying, I always say you have to go through in order to get to. It's how you deal with what you go through that determines how you come out. So if I would have been going through it and saying like, man, I'm sick of this, man, and I'm not gonna go to work on time no more because stuff ain't happening right for me, or I'm going through this, so you know I'm gonna give bad haircuts, so I'm gonna be a horrible father, I'm gonna do this. No, that's not how I went through it, man. I went every day. I got up and I said, God, this is gonna be the best day that I ever had. And sometimes it would actually be the worst day. But my affirmation would always be, God, this is gonna be the best day I ever had. Please bless me and my family so that we can be a blessing to others, man. And I affirmed that every single day that I walked out my house, man. And sometimes it ended up being the worst day ever. But I still went through it with grace. I went through it with humility. I went through it with integrity. So now when I came out, God said, okay, you ready now. And I'm doing stuff unimaginable, man. I guarantee you, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I promise you that. I've been looking at airplanes. Okay, so I'm speak those things that are not as though they were, man. So that's kind of where I am with it. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't anybody can do it. And I'm trying to set the people that work with me. I'm trying to set them up to be able to do the same thing, man, with no sweat. I don't want to be on the mountain by myself, man. I want to bring everybody that want to go. I want to bring them with me, man. That's just the way I rock.
Hey man, just real quick. I'm sorry, JR. Just real quick, man. Just to know you from the same part of the crib where I'm from, bro. You are super duper inspiring me, man.
Thank you,
know
man.
you
I
came
appreciate
from
that.
the hundreds. Know you went to Cone. You know what I'm saying? I remember them school fights, man. You used to meet right in the middle. I know exactly where you grew up at. And you know, Cone shut down now, so you might want to buy that building too. You know what I'm saying? But man, for all the young bloods in the chat, I mean, this is what it's about. It's the hard work, it's the dedication. You literally giving cats the blueprint, man. So salute to you. You definitely a Chicago legend, man. Salute to you for real, for real.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, salute to you. I want to just bring up a few people, man, before we get off. That's cool, Larry. You got time?
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
What's going on, Cash Flow? We can't hear you.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Hey, is my volume able to come through okay? Because I had trouble hearing you all's volume, or some of you all's volume.
No, we can hear you.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, it's just a slight delay, but go ahead.
But yeah, man, I just want. Okay. But yeah, I just want to chime in on the show, man. It's good to see you, Larry. You look kind of familiar, not from Chicago, but I feel like I saw you on another show somewhere. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, I've been on
Windy
City Live, CLTV. I done been on a lot of TV shows, man, over the years, man. I done been on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not clicking, but I remember seeing you. Remember you had a story, and I remember you was dropping a lot of game or whatever, you know, all the type of stuff. But just be men willing to step up, because these are kings. We're talking about kings. This is, you know, this is male, you know, this is manhood things, manhood issues, male perspectives, black male perspectives, or whatever color. But we need more men across the country, not to be Superman, but at least to be willing to step up and try to build something like Rilla's been talking about building, you know. And the concept of this show is beautiful. You're an example of it. We need more like that. I'm always talking about Kwame Brown, who he's entertaining because we do like the silliness. We like that little, a little bit of drama, a little bit of silliness and comedy. We do like that. We like to laugh, we like to talk smack, we like to, snap on each other and all this type of stuff. But when it comes down to serious business, we need to be building, and this need to be done in Chicago, New York. I'm down in Little Rock in Arkansas, but I'm from Chicago.
Oh,
I know
that's what's up.
but this needs to be in every city, man. We need this way. This way, we're building communities. We're building blocks of communities where men. We're teaching manhood. Because I don't have any kids, but mentoring and building is how we as men can give back to the communities, man. So your example, man, is your story. Although it's extraordinary, should be one of many stories, man. That we should be
appreciate
getting
that.
used to seeing. We're getting used to that. We love to see stories like yours. We need to see more success and Black men are doing way better than we did back in the, 70s and 80s and all of that. Even, the stats and numbers, whatever you want to call it, even the Black middle class is growing. So, all of this negative stuff, I mean, it's cool, but I'm loving to see and hear more stories like yours, more like Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown is very entertaining, very comical, but the stuff he's doing is amazing for helping kids out, for trades, for the coding and all that type of stuff. And dudes like King Randall, which you don't hear much about King Randall.
Yeah.
But you know what? King Randall, he puts up. He just shuts up and he puts up. And he don't get much glory. He don't get much, but you know how much work that dude is putting in. You may have to dig a little bit to find, his name. You got to Google a little bit. You got to go and research. He's not popular, but the work that dude putting in is volumes. He's just one dude now in one town. So we need every town to do this, man. So with your example, man, seeing a story like yours, man, is beautiful, is wonderful. This is what real kings need to be doing. I just want
Thank you. I appreciate your
chime
comments,
in,
man.
I want to thank you, Cash for us. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you,
Thanks
sir.
for calling
Appreciate
in.
it. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
All right. What's going on before the billions?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right, how you doing?
How you
How you
doing,
guys
man?
doing? I'm doing well. Hey, so Larry, I wanted to ask you this quick question. So I know that you are a business owner, and I wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome them as a successful business owner?
What do I mean by that?
I know what you mean.
Okay,
we had
so
the same experience, so I know what you mean.
that's probably one of the biggest challenges, man. But I never let anything stop me. My dad, he'd tell me, he said, man, one thing about you, Larry, is that if you put your mind to something, if you say you go do something, you do it. I never let anything stop me, man. I did research, I learned, I studied, and I just, again, I was proactive. Even when opening up my barber school, a lot of people think, oh man, I'm gonna go to the bank, I'm gonna get a loan, so I can open up my school. I'm gonna get a loan to do this. I'm like, okay, it's not what you think that it is. They don't believe in us like that. So they go like, okay, where your 3 years taxes, where your financials, where all of this stuff at, man. So what I did before I opened up my barber school, I knew one day I was gonna open one, and I told this man who sold equipment, I said, hey man, I said, add me up how many 20 chairs, how much 20 chairs would be, how much all these shampoo bowls would be, all of this equipment. Tell me how much that'll be. He wrote me up a ticket for it. I said, okay, every day when you come in my shop, I'm gonna write you a check for $1,000. I did that every day. Before you knew it, all of my stuff was paid for. And then it was time for me to start looking for a barber school. So when I got ready to open up my barber school, I already had my equipment and everything paid for. I just had to have it delivered. You know what I'm saying? So, but the biggest challenge, man, honestly, is being, African American. I hate to say that, the banks don't rock with us like that, man. So I think that we have to lose that crawfish in the barrel mentality, and we have to learn to work together. When people call me for consulting, man, I'm willing to give whatever information I can give to help them not have to go through all of the things that I had to go through, but they got to be willing to listen. So one of the biggest challenges for me, man, is not really having the money to do what needs to be done. When I opened my first barber school, I had to buy and sell real estate and do all of this other stuff to bring money back to pay the bills for the barber school because I hadn't had financial aid yet. So now that I have Title IV, man, it's up to me to maintain my Title IV because you have to do major audits. I have to pay $18,000 full audit every year that I have to have done, man. So I think the biggest challenge is having the financial resources you need in order to be able to run a good, successful business.
Right. And I got one more question for you. Is when did you realize that you could actually take a step back from your business and actually like take a vacation? When did you realize that, that's when you can get that point in your business?
So let me see. So I've been in business for 29 years now, and I first realized I can take a vacation and step back when I went on my honeymoon a few weeks ago. Believe it or not, believe it or not, because I couldn't go out of town and not focus on what's going on at home, what's going on, what's going on in my businesses. Oh man, I got to make sure I got money for this and there's money in the bank for that. I ain't have to do that this time around, man. I got people in place. I got over 40 people on my staff. I got people in place. You hire people that's smarter than you. You hire a team. You hire people who can help you to sit down. I have meetings on a weekly basis. I have powers that be meeting. We have everything. We got base camp set up. We got all of these things set up, man. And shout out to my man Adam Farmer. That's my COO. We have all of these things set up, man. So you have again, things in place. I'm being redundant. You have things in place that when I leave, I don't have to worry about because they got it handled, man. So believe it or not, out of 29 years, a few weeks ago was the first time I really went out of town and didn't have to focus on what was going on at home. Unbelievable, right?
Yes, I want to say congratulations to you as well. I heard you say that you had a honeymoon, so congratulations on getting
Thank
married.
you, man.
And salute to you and also everybody else on the panel.
All right. Appreciate
Thank
you
you, man.
before the billions.
Thank you,
so
bro.
much.
All right, y'all. Before we head out, you guys got any final thoughts, Coach and Rilla?
Well, Larry, I want to ask you the question, man. How did you feel that the molestation impacted you not only in relationships, but also impacted you in how you dealt with a lot of the things from the past? How did that impact you? I know you say this is your fourth marriage. Do you think the molestation played a role with that?
It didn't play a role in my marriage.
Okay.
And for my marriage is basically coming up in church, man. They made us feel like we had to marry a certain type of woman. Right. So not focusing on marriage counseling and not focusing really on love, but focusing more on, y'all just like, or y'all used to play together, this, that, and the other. But then you get in a situation and you're not happy. I wasn't staying in a situation where I wasn't happy and then have a whole nother relationship going on where I'm married. I wasn't doing that. So, I just desired to be married and be like my dad and my granddad, man. And so no, I don't think the molestation affected me like that. The molestation really affected me to the degree where I was a womanizer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think I don't know if there's a positive category of being a womanizer, but before a man, like I literally used to sleep with 2 or 3 women every day. I mean, that was my thing. That was my go-to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people had issues, and when people were stressed and going through, some people drink and they like to smoke and use drugs, but my drug of choice was women. That's how I resolved all the stress and all of the problems that I was going through. It was women, but it was unknowingly, right? So one thing that Black people don't want to do, and I believe that you're a clinical therapist, but one thing that Black people don't like to do is we don't like to go get no help. We think just because we go and sit down with a psychologist means that we crazy. It doesn't mean that we crazy, because when I went and sat down with somebody, what that did was it helped me say, come on, let's rewind back. Let's go back. Okay, now what happened to you? Da, 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 da. And when I start going down the timeline of the things that happened to me, they was like, aha, let's stop there. So I was able to deal with that thing head on, forgive the person. I didn't feel like I had a problem with it, but I was able to forgive the person and pretty much move on, because I didn't feel like it affected me. What man wouldn't want to say that he slept with all these women every day, you know what I'm saying? And was with whoever, and I was young, I was 18, 19, 20 years old, sleeping with, women in their 40s and their 50s, man. They taught me the game. They were like, hey man, this is all it is. We gonna rock it like this, and hey, I'll see you next week sometime, but my man will be here next few days. I'm like, yo man, what does that mean? But they were just basically telling me, man, say what it is, let it be what it's gonna be. But I think that once I sought counseling and once I got healed and delivered from that, then I was able to get out of that mindset of being a womanizer, because that wasn't my go-to, if that make any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. As you said earlier, we grew up Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal holiness, and a lot of times in the Black communities, we said we're going to pray it away, and we minimize the importance of therapy. And listen, you know and I know, I tell people, Larry, Lapeef, and Chicago Rilla, human beings are integrated. They're soul, body, and spirit. Actually, theology talks about the soul, body, and spirit being held blameless. And, you know, a lot of times when you look at a lot of people in the church, they minimize the importance of therapy. Why do you think that's so minimized as much, even though, you know, therapy has a spiritual component as well?
I can speak to that. So I think that is minimized because they shout and they praise over everything. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's minimized in church. Well, it was more so. It's not minimized as much today, but back in the day, it was minimized because the church was so close knit. It was so family oriented, and a lot of it was going on in the church, because that's where it went on with me, is in the church. And they don't want to face the facts and face the reality of what happened in church, because they want to sweep it up under the carpet and they want to walk over it. Because if they talk about it, then you'll find out it was a preacher that did it. You're going to find out that it was a superintendent of the church that did it, or a deacon that did it, or a mother, whatever the case may be. And they don't want to put that out there, so they want to avoid it by all costs, by all means. You know what I'm saying? And back in the day, man, you know, a lot of incest, you know, went on and all that kind of stuff, man. So they didn't deal with that stuff, man. They just wanted to sweep it under the carpet and they wanted to keep going, man. But nowadays, you got to talk about that stuff, man, because so many different people are being affected. But then the world is so free right now until, man, we got to be careful on our opinions and how we feel about things. You know what I'm saying? But what I think that it also showed me is that where a lot of us, you know, I used to be very judgmental. If a person didn't walk, talk, breathe like me, or like the church taught us, then they were going to hell, or they were this and they was that. But realizing that the same thing that happened to me happened to somebody else, but they went in another direction and I didn't. It's like, oh my God. But so imagine how many people that make judgment calls on people, but you don't know their story. You don't know what they went through and why they are like they are like. And they don't want to be like that, but they can't help it because they're afraid to talk about it, and so on and so forth, man. So my heart goes out to them, and I help anybody who reaches out to me and want to have that talk, and you know what I'm saying, and want to get that help, so to speak.
Yeah, final words, Rilla.
Yeah, man. Just salute to you, Larry. I mean, I was already familiar with some of your work, man, but just hearing it, man, again, I'm super inspired and appreciate you, man. And then, you know, always shout out to you, JR, for this platform. You know, and to the guys in the chat, man, if y'all enjoy King Talk, if y'all getting value out of the content, y'all want to see this keep coming back, please get the likes up, share the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, subscribe to the Lapeef Network, man. And Coach Clinician, you know how I give it up for you, sir. Shout out to you, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on y'all show, man. I really do. It definitely was an honor and a privilege. Thank you,
man. I just want to say thank you, man. It's an honor to have your story being told. I actually learned a lot of things, and I'm gonna take away a lot of gems that was dropped. And I was already inspired, man, but you just inspired me some more tonight, man. I got a lot of work to put in, and just like you and Anton always preaching, man, you just got to put the work in, man. No excuses.
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to thank you guys out there. Appreciate you. Make sure you got to get them likes up. Also subscribe to the channel. And that's going to conclude our show tonight, man. Shout out to everybody that supported the super chats. Thank you. Until next time, we out.
Okay. Be good, brothers.
All right.
All right. Later.
It's the last track, man. Make sure I get them likes up. Also subscribe to the channel. Nope. 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 Nope.
That's bullshit.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Get up out of here. Make sure y'all hit them likes up right now for me. Take a moment, get them likes up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Got a few things happening this week, so stay tuned. Gotta set the notifications. Till next time, I'm out. I appreciate you guys tonight for